Are you unhappy with your watch? Maybe you don't know just why, but something about it is gnawing at you. See, we talk about the glories of collecting, this hobby, the aesthetics, the histories, all of the details that makes these things appealing to all of us. But the negatives are seldom discussed and focused on. There are many times when we can be sitting with these pieces and looking at them and questioning just why we have them in our collections. Why is it that the watch is never worn more often? And the idea behind this discussion is to look at a few reasons that hopefully will resonate with you in some way. From this and the comments on this video, we may be able to understand our psyches a little bit clearer and the elements about these objects that aren't as tasteful as we would like. Reason number one, you didn't put enough time into the thought process. Let's expand upon it. Nowadays in the social media space, impulse buying is a very popular thing. We see watches advertised to us all the time. And in fact, I've made a separate video all about this and saving for your next watch. Impulse buying is okay if you can afford it, but more often than not, it can affect you down the line. And because of this, and not investing enough time and thought into this purchase, you don't feel that clearer connection between you and the object. There was no true reason about why you bought it in the first place. Building onto that, people implant ideas in your head about what is popular, what you should look into. And just because so many people say it's great, therefore it must work for you, isn't always the case, and you shouldn't look into it that way. There are many more factors about collecting and finding your own taste in this area, which is beneficial, makes you a much more rounded individual. And let's be real, understanding your taste is probably the hardest thing that you will be doing in this hobby. It all revolves back to putting more time and thought into the process when it comes to purchasing a watch. Reason number two, the watch is too expensive and or delicate. Okay, this is a different area completely. You buy a watch that costs X amount of money, and it is very expensive. Let's say it's the most expensive purchase you've ever made. In the back of your mind, this is something that's constant. It resonates in your head. Therefore, you don't want to wear the watch because you could damage it, you could scratch it. Depending on the material, might be made of yellow gold, might be made of platinum. Because it's delicate and can't be worn often on a daily basis, it's a piece that you might find difficult to choose and to wear because of these things. But let's sink our teeth into expense some more, because we all love that beautiful word called investment. It's something that most in the community despise hearing. Many don't do this because of the investment potential, but others, like us, very obviously know that a lot of these watches are worth more when you leave the store with them than when you bought them. So of course, looking after it in this sense, because you don't want to damage it, because you can get more money when you sell it. Don't take this seriously, but I think it's an area in this hobby that is very damaging to our psyche, because these watches are made to be worn and enjoyed. And if you are holding on to this object because it's worth twice its retail price, and you're not getting enjoyment out of it, and putting two and two together about it, it's not exciting, therefore it's not fun. So you end up not exactly being happy with the watch that you own. Reason number three, the watch doesn't fit. It's a simple premise. The size, the scale, the proportion, the weight of the watch on your wrist isn't comfortable. Many talk about diameters and all of those elements, but actually one of the key components is the lug-to-lug length. Most of our wrists generally range from about 5 centimeters to 7 centimeters in width. And in that realm, you can judge how the watch would wear on your wrist. If the lugs are too long, if the case is too deep, these aspects factor into how these watches wear for you. If they feel cumbersome, odds are you probably won't be enjoying them. Unfortunately, the modern watch is getting bigger and bigger. So for us who have fairly average wrists, we are left in a different category. We have to either suck it up and wear bigger watches or find smaller ones. But in this area especially, do your research before buying one. Try them on. Make sure you know the difference between titanium and gold when it comes to daily wearing. Make sure you understand how important lug width is, and how a wider bracelet might not make the wearing experience comfortable. How bracelets themselves articulate on the wrist. Is the fit just wrong? It doesn't feel comfortable. This is an aspect that could impact your wearing experience down the line. Reason number four, the design is polarizing. We like talking about this a lot here. There are so many factors in this area alone, whether it's modern, whether it's vintage, whether it has a complication or not. Looking at its materials, its finish, the time when it was made, and the inspirations behind it. These elements can impact your decision, either for better or worse. General rule of thumb says that you should buy the simplest watches possible. therefore eliminating the polarizing aspects. But that also might put you in another camp where you're extremely bored of wearing them all the time. So it's finding that line and riding between the idea of simplicity and complexity, understanding what you're getting and why you are getting it. If it is a polarizing design, one that you can't see yourself wearing every day, make sure you find something else that is neutral, that gives you the opportunity to switch between them. There is no better aspect than color when we're looking at this area especially. Are you someone who prefers watches that are brightly colored? Or do you find that your tastes lie more in the areas of simple or the areas of black and white? Just the theme of the watch, looking at it either being a dive watch, a dress watch, a chronograph. In these categories alone, there is so much variety there. And if the watches are obscure for whatever reason, whether the dial is the wrong size, the case is a different style to what you expect, it may be too flamboyant, it may be too simple. This is one aspect that you need to think about a lot. Reason number 5. You bought it for the wrong reasons. This one goes without saying. It lines up very well with reason number 2, that you didn't put enough thought into the process. Maybe you bought this with no intention to actually own it. Maybe to put money into something, but that's it. The watch may have been bought to be sold because of that reason. You may have bought this watch because of its value, because you can sell it for more. More often than not, and we look at this platform and social media in general, you bought it to impress someone else. Not for your own liking, but for someone else's approval. Having the impression that you own a good watch might mean that you work better in social circles. And this is a problem, because maybe the community does appreciate it, but if you don't, how are you going to live with it? How are you actually going to enjoy it? And then you bought it because it's the popular watch. Because everyone else has it, because everyone talks about it, because it's the darling, it's the one that has the most amount of presence online, because it's the aspect that's spoken about the most, and it's one of the most sought after pieces. Does it therefore mean that it is good for you? Buying watches for the wrong reasons seems to happen more often than not. So check yourself. Be sure that you're doing this for yourself and for no one else. That you could wear this and never even tell anyone about it. That there is something about it that speaks to you alone and your opinion cannot be changed. Reason number 7. You aren't in the mood to wear it. Now with this we can look at things like seasons, we can look at things like environment. Maybe it's the wrong time of year to be wearing this watch. Many aspects to this factor as well. Looking at the polarizing features of the watch, but instead you're looking at yourself more than anything. You not being in the mood to wear a sports watch because you're wearing a suit, because it gets hung up on the sleeve of your shirt. You not being in the mood to wear a dress watch because it's in the middle of summer. Before you consider whether or not the watch is making you unhappy, think about the environment that you're in. Think about the other times when it might be suitable, and that it is just your current state of mind at this point that is playing on you. When all is said and done, reason number 8, you are tired with it. The watch has outstayed its welcome. This fits in with the previous few points, but you should also check yourself in this moment. Just because the watch may be too neutral, just because you've worn it so much that you're tired of wearing it. Many would call wristwatch fatigue. Circle back to why you bought it in the first place. What kind of milestone did it celebrate? Was it something important? If you really think hard about it, does it still speak to you the way it did when you first bought the watch? And instead of feeling this boredom and wanting to offload the piece, think more about changing up the format possibly. Think about the value that it might have given you over time, the memories that you might have had with it. These are just a few elements that I believe impact your happiness with your watch. Time and thought going into the purchase, it being too expensive so you don't want to damage it. The watch itself doesn't fit your wrist or your wearing experience. The design being polarizing, something that doesn't work for that situation. Perhaps you bought it for the wrong reasons, for your own personal gain, to give off a better impression to others. Maybe you're not in the mood to wear it because of seasonal changes or other environmental aspects. Or in the end, that you are tired with it, that you wear it too much and the watch deserves a break. To save yourself from making mistakes, it's always good to double check on this. My simple philosophy when it comes to picking up a watch or deciding on one, can you wear this watch every day? Is it a watch that you could wear for a month without thinking about taking it off? Where do you find the value in this piece? Is it because the community finds it popular? Is it because it has an amazing history, a great process of development to its name, some pioneering features that maybe no one knows about? Does it suit your tastes? The rabbit hole that is horology gets deeper and deeper as we start asking these kinds of questions and investigating. But I would really like to know your thoughts about this area, your reasons and philosophies when it comes to collecting. We can all learn so much from each other and hopefully make decisions that will be able to save us money and in the end allow us to enjoy our choices and our specific tastes when it comes to watches.